Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the old Sodcast. We've got Alice in the chat right away. Hello, Alice. Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Jimmy Barnes back again with my co-host from Not Suitable for Mum. Is the only person from Not Suitable for Mum.
Just as well, really.
Yeah, it's Jason Clow. Hello, Jason. How are you?
Hello, mate. I'm all good. Yeah. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's been a little while since we've done this.
We've both been busy.
4 or 5 weeks. We've both had things going on.
Definitely.
At times, but especially you.
It's that time of year.
Yeah. Well, we'll call it our summer break that we've had. And we're back now. I don't know. You might have to let me know if you're missing any more due to prior engagements, but
a couple of things.
I think we're more or less back every fortnight now, probably till near Christmas, because I particularly like doing live streaming over Christmas. So till sometime maybe early December, and then we'll stop and resume in the new year, unless of course I decide to cancel this rotten series. Have you had a good few weeks then Jace? What have you been up to?
Well, as you know, unfortunately didn't get to meet up with you, but we both went to the wrestling. That was on the 28th, was it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like 27th, 28th. So yeah, that was good. So that's why we went on for a while. I just spent a couple of weeks down with my folks because I've not seen them since, June, I think it was. So I thought I better, spend a bit of time with them. Sort of summerish. That was quite good. A bit quiet, but we had some nice weather. I even sort of went in the sea. But it was a bit too bloody cold for full body in. I had a paddle, I did.
in the sea. Where's those jellyfish when you need them?
Well, there you go.
Although the cure for a jellyfish sting is apparently wean on yourself, but you like doing that anyway, so it's not a problem.
Well, as long as it's not someone doing it for me, that's the thing.
People will pay good money for that.
I know.
It's been more of the same really for me. I've been busy with the YouTube channel. Lots of things have gone up over the last few weeks. I did my vlog for the wrestling at Wembley Stadium. That was a fun video, and
still not done mine yet.
A couple of days away, obviously. Plenty of records roundups, lots of money spent, too much money spent. My mum will kill me, like she always threatens to every time she sees I've got some post. And a couple of contest entries as well. One for
look at those.
Rock Hard Vinyl that went up on Friday, a couple of days ago. Nice short one that, because I had to keep it under 5 minutes. So up and actually get to the point. And then a rather more longer one. It's a complicated thing as well, but I did manage to do it, and I'm looking forward to it coming out and seeing what people think. But one for TKR Video Central, TC Kirkham, a contest entry for his current contest. That will be out on the channel at midday tomorrow.
Lovely stuff.
And there's another records roundup due, and I'll no doubt be filming another one of those. If not this week, then certainly no later than next week. And I'm just trying to keep the channel ticking over and getting stuff done in advance. I've been recording. I finished the Top of the Pops reaction over the weekend.
Yeah,
that's. I won't say too much at the moment, but there is an announcement about that series coming in a couple of months or so. But this reaction that I've done, that one's not going to be coming out till November. So there's two others in the can before that. So been keeping busy. You got any YouTube specific plans coming up, Jason?
I've got to crack back on my channel where I've been away for a bit, and now I want to get a bunch of stuff uploaded because I've got a few more trips here and there, so I want to try and cover it so it's not such a long gap. Yeah, I mean, I've got some Star Wars stuff I got recently. A couple of charity shop hauls, a few new albums. Just the usual sort of nonsense. And then I do my usual sort of gaming videos and whatnot. You know, well, I suppose they are gap fillers in a way, but I like
It's the
making.
music stuff we really care about on here, Jason. Yeah, like,
Yeah. But
if it was
no, you know.
if it was a Star Wars soundtrack album, I'd kind of give you a pass on that. But
Well, I have got one. I have got one.
no, well, you never know. Maybe we'll perhaps get a chance for you to show that on a Sodcast one day.
Possibly, yeah.
Depending on if I can sort of favourite science fiction theme.
Well,
No, that sounds a bit specific, really.
No, it doesn't have to be science fiction. It could just be any soundtrack album.
Although
You know, film, TV, whatever.
We did do compilations, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's a bit, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do the same ones, obviously.
A different kettle of fish. I've actually, I won't say what it is because I always show these things first in records around. But I've actually ordered a soundtrack on vinyl for one of my favourite films. It got re-released recently, but the site I've used, I won't call them out now because, to be fair, I've never had any problems with them. Whereas they've not sent me stuff, but I've had to chase them up a couple of times, and it looks like
that makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's like one bloke who runs. He's like got a shop.
Oh yeah.
The website as well, and to be fair, I give him a bit of a pass, but it would be nice if he could just get his arse in gear a bit more. But
well, yeah, I know.
So I was hoping I might be able to show that in the next records roundup that I'll be filming, not the one that's already in the can.
Yeah. Was it number 44 was the last one you did, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well remembered. Yeah, and 45 is done, and it's out on this Friday, I think.
Well, I'm hoping yeah, go on.
No, that's all I was saying now, but I have actually bought, because I don't own a lot of soundtracks, weirdly.
No.
You know, I do like plenty of films, but I just don't seem to have collected too many soundtrack albums over the years. But I've got one that I've always liked the music in the film, and I love the film. It's a film I can rewatch sort of once a year, and I would say it's probably it's definitely in my top 10. Maybe pushing top 5 favourite films, but that's something for the future anyway.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, mate.
Yeah, but on to today's order of business.
Okay.
And that is to talk about our favourite gigs or favourite concerts. Is gig like a sort of British English word, or do they use
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure what it stands for exactly.
Like,
it's probably shortened, I suspect.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always associate gig with obviously gig is shorthand for concert, but I'm worried now because I subtitled this stream favorite gigs. I've kind of alienated our transatlantic audience because we'll be like, gigs? What are gigs?
Yeah, concerts, tours, performances.
Yeah, I think I should have maybe named it favorite concerts, but yeah.
I think most people who get the gist of it.
Too late now. Americans, if you come in and wonder what we're talking about, or if you watch the replay, and I hope that you do, of course.
I'm sure Americans call them gigs as well.
I don't know.
I think it's something they've embraced. You know, it's us that's
those who know about music or know what the word gig means, even if it's not something that's particularly used in American vernacular.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a weird one.
So so Jason and I have had to think about our 4 of our favourite ever concerts that we've either been to, or to make it easier, not for Jason because he's been to more gigs than bloody I don't know, Freddie Mercury.
Well, not about that far, but yeah, a few.
But for me, who's not actually been to that many, certainly not in recent years either, I decided that it could also encompass ones that we've seen, be it on television or we've watched on DVD, video, some sort of video format. So 3 of mine are ones that I've attended, but one of them is one that I really love, but it's one that, for reasons that will become obvious later on, I wasn't at. But I think, Jason, all 4 of yours you actually attended.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So Jason didn't have to cheat for this one. I did. So
I was not cheating, mate.
that's a point in his column already, and that's the last mention of Jason's column that you'll ever hear on this channel. Right.
Yeah, dirty sod.
Yeah.
Moving on.
We're going to go X-rated in 2 weeks. It's going to be called the Dirty Sodcast next time. He'll like that as well.
I'm sure we'll find something interesting to chat about on that one.
Yeah. Oh, God. I dread to think. Right, yes. I'm going to let you start us off then.
Oh, okay. All right,
are these in any order of preference, or are they just
not really? It was so difficult trying to pick 4. Just 4. And also, I didn't want to go down the route of picking the same band for everyone, or doing 2 of the same band or whatever. Right? I wanted it all to be different bands. So trying to pick them was it was a bit of a nightmare. But I've done it. So yeah, these are they're not in any date order, but I've got the details. I can give you a rundown and give you a few anecdotes, and you can, see what you think, really.
Mm-hmm.
I apologise if it sounds crap in advance. I'll try to do my best. Okay, so the first one I'm going to focus in is the it's called the Made in England 7th Son of 7th Son tour. This is Iron Maiden, obviously. And this was the O2 Arena in London, August 23rd, 2013. So
about 10 years ago then.
Yeah. Well, it sold out very, very quickly, but I was lucky, right? Or, well, in a manner of speaking. Obviously, because I got my sight issues, I was able to phone up and get the access line. So they were able to get me a ticket. The actual Saturday sold out, and they did another gig on the Sunday as well. Extra date. But I managed to get the Saturday one, and I got the ticket from my mate, something like half price or something like that. I can't remember what I paid now. But yeah, we went up there. How did we get up there? We must have gone on the train, I think. So it's a bit of a trek, and yeah, we must have got a hotel as well. Yeah, we did. Had a premiere in a hotel, I think. Anyway, that's getting to it. The fun bit that I found was we were in the accessibility area, if you like. And I even had one of the metal chairs reserved for Jason Clow on the seat, which I thought was kind of cool. It's like, special guest, But obviously not really.
Very incontinent person.
Well, there you go. Right, now, I'm trying to look. Oh, yeah, that's it. So, support was by a band called Voodoo 6. I don't really remember what they played, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you. But I had a little look, and they are still going, so they must be doing okay for themselves. And to support someone like Iron Maiden, that's a pretty big thing for any band, I think. Anyway, I'm going to give you a little rundown of the set list very quickly. So I don't know if there's anybody in chat at the moment, but you may well remember a lot of these. So we had Moonchild, Can I Play With Madness, The Prisoner, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Afraid to Shoot Strangers, which is a song I can never recollect. I know the name, but I can never remember what it sounds like. You had The Trooper, Number of the Beast, Phantom of the Opera, Run to the Hills, Wasted Years, Seventh Son of Seventh Son, because it was, as I say, it was to sort of promote that. It was like 25th anniversary of the original album, I believe. The Clairvoyant, Fear of the Dark, and then Iron Maiden itself. And then obviously they did their encore. And that was, they did a bit from Winston Churchill's war speech, which I thought was kind of interesting. They did Aces High, The Evil That Men Do, Running Free, and they finished off, or they walked off to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life by Monty Python, which was a bit weird.
You can't count that as a performance, though.
No, but it was it was just like part of the what should we say, showmanship. Very, very good. I can't remember. I don't even know how old Bruce Dickinson is now, but he was running around like a young'un, sweating everywhere. He'd go off every few minutes and tone himself down and then come back and do a bit more. Brilliant set. They had I don't know if anyone remembers the Seventh Son album. It's like half of Eddie with his brains like hanging out and all the rest of it, and sort of semi-robotic as well. They had that sort of like spinning its arms around all over the place, and pyros here, there, and everywhere. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Mr. Ring. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah. And yeah, I've never seen Iron Maiden before, so for me it was amazing, right? Do I wish I'd seen them in their heyday? Yeah, of course. But they were still pretty energetic. They were giving it some welly, lots of fun. They seemed to be enjoying themselves. The crowd were so into me. We were talking, 20,000 people for that one.
Oh, wow.
Most of my gigs I've been to are smaller. They tend to be more sort of, maybe 500, 1,000 people, something like that. But that was really good. I enjoyed it. My mate enjoyed it. We got some. Unfortunately, I haven't got any pictures to show you, but we got quite a few pictures outside and in.
While we're on Iron Maiden, sorry, just before I carry on that thought, your favourite gig was seeing Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, apparently.
Yeah, mate, he's brilliant.
But no, Iron Maiden. When you mentioned Bruce Dickinson in particular, now I know he left Iron Maiden for a few years, didn't he?
Yeah, a couple of albums.
Was that because he wanted to focus on solo stuff, or
I think so?
He had falling out with them or something.
I don't know if there was any falling out. There might have been, but I don't recollect on that. I do know that he wanted to try doing stuff on his own, because I think he released, two, maybe three albums.
I think one of his solo albums came out before he left them, didn't it?
I am not entirely sure. I'd have to go back and look at that.
I'm not 100% certain.
No.
I think people seen him with what was the song? It was a pretty good one, actually. It was like his first fairly big solo single.
Tattooed Millionaire?
That's the one. Yeah, well done for remembering.
And he did.
About a year or so later, on Top of the Pops, it was like although it might have been a live single, actually. So perhaps perhaps he had left, but they released the live album and a live single. So I was just kind of I just wondered, A, why he left, and B, what was it, were people, well, I mean, obviously fans were probably pleased that he rejoined, but
yeah, definitely.
It felt like he was coming back with his tail between his legs, really.
No, I don't feel that myself. I think he did what he wanted to do. I think maybe if he'd had a bit more success, maybe he would have stayed doing solo stuff. But then there's a few sort of bands like that, and then they realise how much they miss it being in the band, and they come back. I don't know if you remember, it was Blaze Bayley from, oh crikey, what was his name? Wolf something, I can't remember now. Anyway, Blaze Bayley took over for a couple of albums, and he gets a lot of flack for it and the songs and everything. But I thought they were quite good. He's no Bruce, but he's a decent enough singer.
Well, if he wanted to carry on and none of the other band could or wanted to sing, they would have had to get a new vocalist.
Exactly. But I mean, he was decent enough, and as Bruce, when Bruce first came back, he did some of the songs on tour, and people were booing the songs, and he said, "Look, if I can be bothered to sing them, you can be bothered to listen." So he didn't have a problem with it. So,
Yeah. And they were the ones that they'd obviously written and recorded while he was away.
Yeah.
The similar example I can think of regarding like a band frontman who leaves but then comes back is when Phil Collins left Genesis for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm not obviously counting Peter Gabriel because he did leave and he never went back.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Phil Collins, he left. It was about mid-90s, I think, and then they replaced him with the guy out of Stiltskin, didn't they? And
was that who it was?
Yeah, Ray Wilson, I think his name is.
Blimey, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, the singer from Stiltskin, he replaced Phil Collins in Genesis.
That's weird.
I think the album that they had with Wilson was called "Calling All Stations" or something like that.
That must have been because he's got a very, very different voice to Phil.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Phil Collins has definitely returned to Genesis because they've had tours after the Ray Wilson years. I'm just trying to think if they've released an actual album since then.
That I can recall, but then I'm not a massive fan.
They've probably had live albums come out and no doubt one or two compilations, but I'm not entirely sure now they've ever recorded another studio album with Phil Collins now.
Well, I mean,
that's the other example that was springing to mind, similar to Iron Maiden.
Well, Mike Rutherford went off and did his own stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, but that was like, Phil Collins had his solo career, but it was also in conjunction with Genesis. Well,
true.
It's the same for Mike Rutherford. Mike and the Mechanics kind of coexisted alongside Genesis, didn't they?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's weird. Oh no, yeah. Anyway, that's my first selection. So, as I said, I hope it wasn't boring. I was difficult to know what to include.
No, it was interesting. It sounds like a good one for you to pick. So I know you said you were.
It took me that long.
That one probably sounded like quite a memorable event. Probably one that was an easy contender really for your list.
Yeah, well, I'd been waiting years. I mean, since Number of the Beast came out, never got to see Iron Man alive. One, initially because I was a bit too young, right? Initially, I mean, I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't see my first gig till I was like 20 something. So it was just a band. Sort of, I suppose you could, for want of a better time, it was on my bucket list and things to do, bands to see. So I'd love to see them again, but they're all getting on a bit now. So I don't know if that happened. Maybe I think they're touring this year. Actually, I got a funny feeling.
Well, if they're still touring, then this. I suppose you never know. It's possible you'd see him at least once more.
Yeah. Well, look at the Stones.
Yeah,
they never seem to give up.
This is going off topic, but I don't know if you've heard the new Stones single.
I can't say that I have. No.
It's I've surprised myself. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I've pre-ordered the album.
All right, okay. I'll have to look at that.
I don't dislike the Rolling Stones, but I'm a very sort of casual listener to them. I've got like one of their greatest hits on mini disc. I did have another greatest hits on LP, but it was one I actually sold. But got like Jump Back, the compilation 71 to 92 or whatever it is on MD, and that's it. But I like their new single. So much, I decided I'd pre-order the album, and I could have just bought the single because the single's out on 7 and 10-inch vinyl. But I thought, I might as well get the album because there might be something on the album I like as well besides the single. But I do recommend listening to. The
I will.
Good as well. It's quite good how they. I won't give any spoilers, but it's quite good how they've done the video too.
Well, I do like the album that came out. I think it was late 80s, something like that. Steel Wheels.
Yeah, that'll be about 89, I think.
Yeah, my mate used to play that all the time, and it grows on you.
Yeah,
a bit like a fungus, but it grows on you.
Stones still going, and they'll be touring this album probably for the next couple of years. If
I'd imagine so.
Touch wood, obviously. When you get to that age, you can't sort of say for definite. But you can make plans. But old age can get in the way. But I'm looking. The new album's called Hackney Diamonds, and I think it's out.
All right, okay.
October. And
Yeah,
I
I'm
forgot the
sure.
name. I've forgotten the bloody name of the new single, but it's really good. No,
Yeah.
honestly, I put it on thinking, oh well, it's a new Stone song. It's gonna be a bit poor, but no, I was very impressed. So they made a sale as far as I'm concerned by putting that
Fair
single.
play. Yeah.
I wouldn't have pre-ordered the album if I'd not heard it. I would have just thought, oh, it's a Stones album, and I would have ignored it most likely. So yeah. Anyway, back on to favourite gigs. So Jason, thank you for your Iron Maiden.
No worries, mate.
I enjoyed it. Right, my first choice. Now then, I'm really rusty on the dates here. This was the first proper gig that I went to. I've estimated it would have been around April or May 1997. But then possibly, I think it could have been a little bit later now, thinking about it. It could have been maybe even as late as July. But it was definitely 97 because I know the album that it was promoting that came out around the same time. It was at the City Hall in Sheffield. At this point, by the way, if it was April or May, I would have been 16. If it was after June, I would have been 17. And it was in support of their second album, Mother Nature Calls. It was a gig at Sheffield City Hall from Cast, a band who Jason has took against for many years for some unknown reason, and we've tried to talk about it, and he's never given me a good reason as to why he dislikes them. But now, this is a special gig for me. First and foremost, because it was the first proper gig I've been to. I think there was like kind of little local things, like amateur things that I'd sort of stuck my head in once or twice before that. I had a friend who was forming a band around a little bit after this, actually, and I remember he was like part of a Battle of the Bands thing at some little hut type place in Chesterfield, and I did go and see him in that. Jonathan's just said he thinks he's seen. Yeah, I vaguely remember you telling me that ages ago that they were one of these Portsmouth festivals that you've been to. So yeah, you probably have. Now, what's interesting about this gig also is the support act for Cast, and they were completely unknown at the time. Travis. You could say. In fact, I think it's no could about it. I think it's pretty set in stone that Travis went on to be a much bigger act.
Yeah.
But at the time, Travis, I think they were just about to release their debut album, Good Feeling, which ironically I've also got on mini disc. And I think there was a third support act, but I can't remember who they were, and we didn't arrive till just before Travis was about to start. But I think, and I was trying to find some information on the internet earlier, and I was just coming up nitto really. But I think the third act, the second support act to Cast after Travis, or before Travis, I should say, but before we got there, was another group who ended up doing quite well, but I can't for the life of me remember who they were. Jonathan says his favourite song is Fine to. Yeah, great song, that their debut single, that actually, and that was one they performed at Sheffield. So Fine Time was from the album All Change, which would have come out in 1995. Mother Nature Calls was their second album. It's my favourite album of theirs still to this day. That came out in 97. So they'd had a couple of singles come out off it so far. When I saw them, me and my friend at City Hall. City Hall, I can't remember too much about the venue. It was kind of like I'd say sort of like a mid-sized sort of venue for, not an arena by any stretch, but, bigger than kind of like a glorified nightclub. Is sort of like, kind of small to mid-range venue. A lot of big bands have played City Hall over the years, but that was the one and only time, sadly. And I kind of wish I'd been to more gigs, really. But that was the one time that I actually went to City Hall in Sheffield. But Travis, I enjoyed Travis a lot because I remember I think it was one of their songs that they played. They were just playing all stuff from their first album because that's all they'd done at that point. I went out and bought one of their singles. I think it was All I Want to Do Is Rock. I bought the CD single.
Yeah.
That was coming out. And they were a bit of a different proposition for that first album. They were more heavy and more sort of proper Britpop from sort of the second album, which was The Man Who, I think. Or am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, The Man Who, I think.
It was The Man Who. A couple of years later. That they kind of developed into more kind of like a soft rock sort of act. But they got pretty big by then. And certainly, Cast were certainly on the way out by the end of the 90s, whereas Travis were, I think if it wasn't for Coldplay taking their throne, I think Travis would have been sort of Britain's biggest band for a good few years.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
I liked him enough as a support act, even though I didn't really care what the support act was.
Yeah,
and we'd already missed the other one because there was two support bands on that night. But I enjoyed Travis enough that I did buy their single, and then many, many years later, I have got their first 3 albums on MD. But for Cast themselves, I was a massive Cast fan at this point. I was writing for a Cast fanzine, believe it or not. There was one that was out.
All right, perfect. Yeah.
And I just loved their album Mother Nature Calls. I thought all the singles were strong. They played. Now then, I don't think they played I'm So Lonely. I'm sorry, I've not got a set list or anything here, so I can't tell you exactly what they've done. I'm just having to sort of go by my memories, really. But there's 3 singles off that album, which were Free Me, Guiding Star, and Live the Dream. They played all those. I love Live the Dream, and I love Guiding Star as well, actually. And they played most, not all, but most off the new album, a lot off the first album, All Changed, like Jonathan's favourite, Fine Time. They definitely performed that. Can't remember which ones were in the encore and which weren't. Just a great night. And I don't know, a little memory about the evening that always sticks with me is... I saw someone I knew that I'd not seen. It would have been for probably about a year at this point, because I'd left school, secondary school, the previous summer, June 1996, and I think it was either during like a bit of a sort of brief interval, or no, I think it was actually not near to the end of the gig. I sort of just turned my head, just kind of looking at who was near me, and then I saw someone eyeballing me, and it was a teacher from my school, and it was one. She was actually the textiles teacher, if you can remember your old textiles lessons.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, like needlework and
I remember. Yeah,
and so she'd
not
taught me personally since like my 3rd year, so that would have been like 1994. Was probably the last lesson I had with her. I think she also did a bit of PE teaching as well, but she was, but that was mainly with the girl students. And she was someone like I never got on with her. Like she didn't like me because I was crap at textiles, And although I fancied her because she was fit, and all the boys fancied her, I thought she was.
And you were lucky.
Yeah, and
mine was somebody's grandma.
No, she looked like everyone, like all the lads would be like, well, we all know the fittest teacher is in this school. It's Mrs. Brightmore, isn't it? And like, yeah, there's no contest really. And then we kind of caught each other's eye at this Cast concert, and so like, we sort of looked at each other, and there was like a bit of an awkward nod because like, she obviously recognised me. I definitely recognised her, and I'm like, yeah, we never really got on, did we? But hey, we share a similar taste in music. It was just weird seeing randomly this old styles teacher from school, and she'd not, like I say, I'd not seen her in about a year because I'd left school. And she'd not taught me in like about 3 years. But that's just like a strange sort of, oh yeah, I know her.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so yeah, I don't really speak much about the music, more about kind of just my weird memories.
Well,
But
it is, yeah, but that's part of it, isn't
that
it?
was my that was what I would consider my first proper gig, proper
Yeah.
concert. Great night. I love Cast.
Yeah, no, fair play.
Um, that was it was certainly their peak around that point. Mother Nature Calls, 1997, that era. I mean, things did start to go off the boil a couple of years later. It's nice that they're back and they're a touring act again, and they're an album releasing. They've got a new album due. Whether it'll be late this year, I'm not sure. It might. I've got a feeling it might be sometime next year now. But they've definitely recording a new album as we speak.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
and like I say, it was quite cool to have seen Travis
Yeah.
before they exploded. Really, it's nice that I can say, oh yeah, Travis, who were a pretty big band for a few years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw them, and it was at the start of their chart career, really. So Cast and Travis at Sheffield City Hall
That's pretty good. Yeah.
is my first pick. Many fond memories of that one. Jason, tell us about, unless you've got anything you want to ask me, of course, but if not,
No, it's just funny you mentioned Cast actually because I think they played Reading Festival that same year that I saw Skunk, but they were in one of the tents, I think. I can't remember. I think they'd only, if in 95, they wouldn't have been going long, would they?
no, not long at all. I mean, that's when the first album came out. So yeah.
Because quite a few bands, it was like one of their first gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
so
my next one.
Your second, obviously, this isn't necessarily means this is your second favourite, or it's just the second one.
Yeah.
List.
Well, the thing is, all that ties in nicely with what this is, and it was Skunk Anansi at Reading '95.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. So basically, I won't go into the story, but anyway, I'd seen them on TV, thought that's a decent band, I want to go and see them, and the day after I'd seen them, I found out they were playing Joiners Arms, and they'd sold out, so I couldn't get to go, and I was like, bugger, that would have been ideal for me. Anyway, my mate had been talking about going to the festival a couple of years, and he said, do you want to go? And I was like, who's playing? Sort of thing. Like, yeah, it's decent, but don't think it's anyone that I'm desperate to see. And then Skunk Anansi came on the list, and I thought, do you know what? Sonny, I'll do it. Right? 3 days away or whatever it was. 30, 40 odd bands that could potentially see. Same year the Foo Fighters debuted, funnily enough.
Mm.
And I thought, let's go. And I'm really glad I did. Now, this was on the Saturday, and it was quite early on in the afternoon. It might have been about 1, 2 o'clock. And they only played a short set. It was probably about half an hour, 45 minutes. I've got the list here. And this is, at the time, this was been like their first album. So it was only playing stuff off the first album. So I'd apologise for the title. They had Little Baby Swastika, I Can Dream, Selling Jesus, Charity, and Here I Stand. It Takes Blood and Guts to Be This Cool, but I'm still just a cliche. And followed up by Intellectualising My Blackness. And that was the set list. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought, seeing as what the time they were on, they could have been lackluster about it, but no, they went, full pelt. I was pretty much down the front. There wasn't a massive crowd then. No, this is a band that we're talking about that went on to headline Glastonbury in 2000, I think it was. Something like that. So, humble beginnings, should we say. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And the best bit of it was after the gig, after their set. I went back to the tent and met up with a bunch of the people that I was with, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to go into because Reading, you can go into town. You're not stuck in the campsite like you are with Glastonbury."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we went into Reading. They said, "Yeah, we're going to go get some beers and stuff." I was like, all right, yeah, fair play. I'll come with you, something to do. Right? Anyway, we're walking past Virgin Megastore. Signing today, Skunk and Nancy. Holy crap. See you guys later. I'll see you back at the 10. So they went, oh, got their drink. I didn't give a shit about the drink. I just wanted to meet the band. They were all in there. Didn't sort of get really much time to speak to them, really. But, it's like, hello, how you doing? I had the Little Baby Swastika t-shirt that I'd got the previous day from Virgin Megastore, right? And Skimmer's, you got one of those. Yeah, I think she said it was something like limited to 500 t-shirts or something like that, which was, I've still got it now. I got the poster as well, same single. They signed that, and they were having a bit of a pen fight as well at the time and having a laugh, enjoying themselves. And it was funny because they obviously hadn't had lunch because Ace wrote "hungry" on the poster before he put his signature down. It makes me wish I'd gone in with food for him, But that was the thing. And the other bit was keeping all that day, all the rest of that day, and the Sunday and the Monday morning before we went back, and getting back on the train and keeping the poster flat and dry because it did piss it down with rain. So how the hell I got it home in one piece, I do not know to this day, but it's still up on my wall now.
Leroy Screwballs in the chat saying this must be the Kai Mai's live stream. Jason,
hey, what?
No idea. I think you.
Well, that's what I typed in at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
Johnson, thank you for stopping.
What my typing's like.
Carry on, Jason. I don't.
But anyway, I mean, I got to meet all the band. Bunch of nice people, very friendly. And I know you see what skin. She looks quite intimidating, but she was lovely. Ace, the guitarist, is like one of the nicest blokes I've probably ever met. Met him a couple of times now. And then
that's me.
Oh yeah.
That's not difficult. I can be alright.
No. Well, they probably can if the right mood struck them, And Cass, the bassist, and Mark, which was the drummer, and I've met them again since. I had a beer with the two of those. That was another story for another day. But it was just it was a short gig, but the whole festival was brilliant, and I liked it so much. I went again the following year as well.
Yeah, I think Reading Festival used to be quite a well received one every year. I do see like on Twitter and things like that old Reading Festival posters from certain years. I know New Order have certainly headlined a couple of times. But Reading '93, I've got the bootleg CD of their set at Reading '93, and they effectively split up for about 5 years after that gig.
Yeah.
Leroy's offended too. Just from Jason in general. Yeah, it's understandable. I suppose it's a shame, but other festivals have sort of come and gone since then. But it's a bit of a shame that Reading Festival kind of died out. I think was it late 90s or early 2000s?
Well, it's Reading and Leeds now, isn't it? It's merged.
Yeah, which neither of those cities are actually near each other. Like, no. It's weird, isn't it? But if it was like Leeds and Bradford, you could understand because they're pretty close to one another. Yeah. Or even Leeds and Sheffield, because they're not too far. But Leeds and Reading, like Reading's down in Berkshire and Leeds is up in West Yorkshire. It's weird.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah. No, it sounds good.
It's good. It's good fun. It's well worth doing.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, and I say got to see the Foo Fighters as well. So, and I've never seen them since either. Saw them when they first started. I've not got to see them again, and I would like to.
The Foos, yeah. there, the lead singer of the Foos. He doesn't half look like the guy who used to drum for Nirvana.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, that, isn't it? I can't work it out.
Weird, yeah.
Oh, that's one thing. I mean, I can't remember if it was that one, right? You was just saying about the Foos going off on tangent a little bit. I can't remember if it's that one or 96, but they had the Smashing Pumpkins play and Hole on the same night. And Courtney Love ran on stage and ambushed Billy Corgan.
Yeah, they did date for a while, didn't they?
Yeah.
Although weirdly, Courtney Love dated Steve Coogan for a little bit.
Did she?
Yeah.
That's a weird relationship.
I know. You wouldn't put the woman from Hole and Alan Partridge together, would you? But yeah, they went out for a little while.
Wow. Okay.
Leroy's seen the Foos loads of time. Yeah, you might have to be a bit more specific there. Loads of times makes it sound like you just followed them on tour or something. I've
had mates that have done that,
Leroy, but please give us some more information and correct me if I'm wrong there. So Skunk Anansie at Reading, very nice.
Yeah.
Right, my second pick, and mine are actually in chronological order. It's just how I've sort of remembered them really, but
okay.
This would have come only a few months or a couple of months or so after Cast at City Hall, but this was a gig at the Lead Mill in Sheffield, so another Sheffield gig, but the Lead Mill, legendary venue around in this neck of the woods, really small, kind of like a nightclub, sort of indie, sort of like one of those sort of like, I don't want to say cozy because that's not probably the right word. One of those kind of small and dark and kind of
more intimate.
Intimate, that's the word.
Yeah.
Exactly
times, what you mean.
5 times Leroy Screwballs has seen the Foos, by the way. Very nice.
I'm jealous. I'd like to see him again.
So this would have been, now there again, I can't remember the exact date, so I've estimated, and I think this is pretty accurate actually, September 1997. So like I say, not too many months after Cast at City Hall. Lead Mill's a smaller venue, and this was the band, though technically they were a duo, but they had like a full band. This was Monaco, who were Peter Hook from New Order. Bear in mind, New Order had kind of been pretty much split up for a few years at this point. And his partner in Monaco was David Potts, or Potsy. So Hooky and Potsy, aka Monaco, and then they had like another 3, maybe 4 musicians as part of a live band. I do remember the support act. They had a couple of top 40 singles. I did look them up again on Wikipedia before we went live, actually, just to kind of refresh my memory. But I remember the support band, and I'll be interested to know if you remember these at all, Jason, was a band called Rialto.
Yes, I've heard of them.
Rialto. Yeah, they did have a couple. There again, they were supporting Monaco, and like this was like probably before they'd released their debut album. And it was funny because Rialto were playing, and sort of like the dance floor, or like leading up to the stage, like no one was sort of paying them much attention. Like they get like a polite round of applause a little bit after every song. But as soon as like they'd finished and said, "Okay, we've been Rialto, good night," everyone rushed so it could be in front of the stage for Monaco. And me and my friend, I don't know how we did it. I must have had a lot more confidence back then, but I was determined to get to the front, and I made it. I said to him, right, the moment Rialto finished, we're going there because otherwise we're not going to make it to the front. And he's like, "Oh, what, are you sure?" Like, yeah, no, come on, follow me, we'll do it. And we did. And what I love about that venue, and I'm not sure, I don't even think they could get away with it now, but you were right up to the stage. There was no barriers.
All right, okay, yeah.
There was security, but there was kind of like one guy sort of way over to the one side and one way over to the other.
Yeah.
So it's one of those sort of. It was one of those sort of venues you could literally reach over and you could I could have untied Potsy's shoelaces if I'd wanted
Yeah,
to.
well, I've been to gigs like that. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think health and safety wouldn't allow that now, but I don't know. Perhaps
Depends on the size of the venue.
yeah, but it's a small venue, but it's
Yeah.
quite well known. You're there again, like City Hall, although City Hall's a lot bigger. It's somewhere a lot of up and coming bands and well known acts have played over many years. Monaco, it was a special gig for me because I'd always wanted to see New Order in concert. They'd not officially split up, but they'd gone on hiatus after Reading '93, what I mentioned earlier. They'd have compilations and remixes and things come out, but it didn't look like they were particularly any closer to reforming, although they would reform temporarily a year later, and then they started recording a new album a couple of years after that. But for me, so this was seeing Peter Hook and seeing Monaco in concert was at that point I thought the closest that I'll ever get to seeing New Order.
Yeah.
I loved Monaco's first album. This was when their first album, Music for Pleasure, came out. Brilliant album. I ranked it in a New Order spin-offs ranking video that I think you probably did see. It was about a month or so, probably longer actually, maybe about 6 weeks when that came out on the channel. And that album ranks high. I think I ranked it second or third. I think it was third out of quite a few. Great singles off it. What You Want From Me was a big radio hit.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, everyone remembers that. Sweet Lips was a good single that got top 20, I think. Shine didn't make the top 40, but that was my favourite track on the album.
I think I've heard that one.
Yeah, a great song. That they played all those, and they pretty much just played the album. Not in the album order. I think they mixed it up a little bit, and then the encore was one of the B-sides that people were shouting for. Cause just one of the funniest things about the gig really was just the interaction between the audience and the band. Because every time there was the end of one song and kind of just cheering and stuff, and then once the cheering had died down, you'd be hearing people shout, "Oh, Hooky, you fat bastard, play such and such. Potsy, you fat cunt, play bicycle." Neither of them are fat. It's just like banter, and it was just so funny. And
yeah.
And so they played a B-side called "Bicycle Thief" in the encore. And I think they played a cover version of something. It might have been a Velvet Underground track, but I can't say for certain. Just before I carry on, I'll just go to Craig here in the chat.
Hello, Craig.
I'd have been to 2 gigs, both with Bon Jovi in August 2000 at the old Wembley. Oh, well, Wembley Stadium, right? Okay. For the start of the development, and then you saw him the following year at the Milton Keynes Bowl. All right, okay, nice one. Thank you for that, Craig. For me, it was kind of like the best compromise that I could wish for, and I just loved how close we were, just right up, like the stage.
Yeah.
You
touching it with your belly.
Yeah, pretty much. Believe it or not, I didn't have a belly back then either. I was 17, and although I wouldn't have said I was in peak physical condition. I was what you would call sort of average weight and everything. I'll always laugh at just like the audience banter and just like like Monaco basically being heckled, but. I think a lot of the hecklers, they were like sort of old school veteran New Order fans, who'd followed New Order around the country since the early 80s. And I think Hooky probably knew a lot of them because, there were these guys who just would watch New Order or watch New Order related, bands and what have you around the country for years.
Yeah.
So it was, it was all taken in good spirit. Now, one thing that in more recent years, I always felt that Peter Hook looked a little bit grumpy in the throughout the night. Like, not sort of, not like, he just had like the face on all the time, but he kind of just looked like he was a bit distracted somehow and a bit sort of upset about something. Well, I realised years later that this would have been around the exact same time that the Hacienda closed for the final time, Hacienda in Manchester. And don't forget, Peter Hook, and all the other members of New Order had shares in it, and it was it'd been a headache pretty much since it opened in 1982, I think it was.
Yeah.
It had to temporarily close a couple of times in the late 80s and early 90s, and then it closed for good in I think it was August or September 97. So that might have been the first gig Hooky played since the closure of the Hacienda, which seems quite a, for anyone else, it probably doesn't mean a lot, but for a New Order / Factory Records nerd like me, it feels quite a momentous.
Yeah, it's fair play,
really. And the one other abiding memory I have is, and he probably did this with other people, particularly like if he saw anyone in the crowd, because we're all so close together, stage and crowd. Particularly if he saw anyone in the crowd he knew, but Hooky got my eyeliner. He kind of just sort of stared me out. It probably was only for a few seconds, probably only for a few seconds, but in the moment it felt like ages. And I'm sort of like trying. I'm not leaving Hooky's arm. I'm there sort of saying to my mate who's to the right of him, like saying, he won't stop staring at me. It was just like, if you've seen Peter Hook. He can come across as a little bit intimidating at times, and he just locked his eyes on me, and it probably was for like between 3 and 5 seconds, but it felt like about half a minute. Just like, like why are we having this staring?
Had you seen him before that? Was that the first time you'd seen him?
Yeah, first time I'd seen Monaco or anyone in New Order.
So it's not like he would have recognised you from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think he was
unless he mistook you for somebody that he thought he knew, but he couldn't place you.
Well, you never know. Another thing about the gig, because it was so easy just to get up on the stage. As soon as they'd finished, someone jumped ahead, and you know how they have like the set list printed out and like stuck on the stage or on an amp or something.
Yeah, I got a couple of those.
People who were like, as soon as they got up, they were taking those. And I said to me mate, I said, I want some sort of souvenir off the stage. And so because Potsy, the guitarist, the other guy in Monaco, and he sung. They both did sing lead vocals, but Potsy did most of the lead vocals on the Monaco albums. But Cotty was directly in front of us, like on the right hand side of the stage, and he'd been smoking pretty much constantly throughout the stage. I thought, you know what? It's a bit of a crappy souvenir, but I'm going to go and get one of Potsy's fag ends that I know. And it was a good one as well, because it was like a cigarette that he'd only really had 2 drags out of, and then he put it down because they were starting a new song. Because obviously this was 97. This was back in the day where if you're in a band, you could smoke on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Really wanted to. I think Hooky was smoking as well at that point, because I think he's someone who, I've seen him smoking in like videos and DVDs and stuff, but generally I think he was a non-smoker, but I think he took it up for a little bit in the 90s and then he gave it up again. So I caught Hooky in his smoking period. So he was lighting up his ciggies a lot, but Potsy, because it was so easy, I just needed to didn't even need to climb up on the stair. I just needed to reach over. It's like, hey, I've got Potsy's fag end here, great. And I saved it for years. So it's pretty revolting thinking about it. And I remember it was about 10 years later, I dug it out and oh Christ, this is Potsy's fag end from 10 years ago. I was 14. But Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story when you finish this bit. Similar
Well,
thing.
yeah, that's it really. You know, just to it was intense. You know, it was. Don't forget, I was still only 17. In fact, technically, I was underage at that gig because it said for 18s and over.
Yeah.
But you know,
Maybe that's why he was staring at you for.
my mate wasn't drinking because he drove us there, and I thought, well, I'm not gonna try and get served, and then like
Get chucked out.
I've not got any false ID or anything, so I thought, no, I'll just have like Coke or water or whatever. And you know, so it was like an intimate venue, a lot of sort of like loud and rowdy fans there.
Yeah.
Particularly once Rialto had packed up and buggered off. You know, everyone just suddenly wanted to be as close to right up at the stage. And somehow me and my friend Lee, I don't know how we kind of, you know, I don't know how we had the guts really when there was everyone else trying to do it, but we just raced there.
Spur of the moment.
Yeah, and wild. In a way, I think until one that I'll mention later on, I think probably that was my very favourite gig for many years because it was just a wild and funny night.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
you know, I picked, albeit rather a gross souvenir. And I wasn't even a smoker then, believe it or not. It's not even like, oh well, you know, I can kind of. You know, I can appreciate this because I like, you know, I didn't start smoking properly myself till a few months later, I think.
The visions of you lighting it up all those years later.
Oh, no, I never actually smoked it, even though it had plenty left on it because, like I say, Potsy only took about 2 drags and then chucked it down. You know, and there was a nice choice as well. I just thought, oh, well, I know he dropped that one. Oh, I'll pick that one because it's biggest. So, yeah. But yeah, there we are. So Monaco supported by Rialto at Leadville in what would have been September 97, but I can't remember the specific date.
Yeah, no, it's funny you're saying about the cigarette because I've lost it now. It fell out of my ticket book and disappeared. Probably got hoovered up. But the weirdest souvenir I had was nothing to do with music. It was a bit of Jeff Jarrett's guitar. He'd cracked over somebody's head.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of, plywood or whatever it was, and then it disappeared. Lost it. But just, weird. You pick up weird things, don't you?
Yeah. Because like at the Lead Mill, the set lists were like the obvious thing. Because I
got a couple of those.
People do like getting them if they can, can't they?
Yeah.
I would have quite liked one, but looking back, it's like, well, it's like a printout with like a bunch of song titles on it.
Yeah.
It's nothing massively collectible, really.
No.
Like
but it was.
You can get the band to sign it, like at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe someone.
No, I got. You wouldn't know them. It was Tony Wright from Television's solo project that he did for a while. Band called Like a Dog. I've got their set list, and Chris Jericho's band Fozzy. I think I only paid $5 for it. Got a set list signed by all the band. But he's literally just written to Chris, so it could have been anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah. I know that's good, mate. I do like following bands that are sort of semi-connected with my favourite bands. I've always tried and follow the other band members and what they do, what they get up to.
Yeah,
so that's good.
New Order were on hiatus. The feeling was they would get back together eventually, but it wasn't a certainty because of all the problems, the hacienda, and they weren't getting on and all the rest of it. So
yeah.
But yeah, great night. So what's your third one, Jace?
Right. Well, it's not often I say things like this, but this band that I went to see was at Southampton Guildhall, and this would have been 93. Yeah, no, September 93. So this is Southampton Guildhall that I went to see him, and I'd been to other gigs, but not what I would call small gigs beforehand. They're all quite big. I mean, I think the smallest one may have been Bournemouth International Centre, and that's still quite big.
Mm.
Right? Certainly bigger than the Guildhall. and I'd seen Def Leppard the previous year. So I was used to these big venues and all the rest of it. Never really been to what we called it an intimate gig.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this was more like it. Anyway, it was the Smashing Pumpkins.
All right.
And I think it was their first UK tour. Possibly might have done one for their first album. I don't know, but anyway, certainly one of their first tours probably over here. For supporting the Siamese Dream album. I don't know if you've ever heard that one.
I've heard stuff on it. I've never heard the full album. But I've heard.
Well, I'll give you a track listing, and I'll give you a funny little couple of things that occurred. Right. So the set list was Geek USA, Quiet, Disarm, Today, I Am One, Hummer, Summer, Rocket, one of my favourite songs of theirs ever, Mayonnaise, which is brilliant, Crush, and where are we? I can't know. Tritessa, I think they call it. I don't know how they pronounce that. And then finished off with the encore. Sorry, Cherub Rock. I knew it was on this somewhere. Yeah, Cherub Rock they played, which was their first single. And then the second encore was Silverfuck. That was the last one. And they were actually supported by, as they were called back then, The Verve.
Ah.
Before Urban Hymns came out.
Yeah.
So, they weren't really very well known then. I'd heard of them.
Cult band, weren't they really, Verve, in the 90s?
Yeah, and they were very different to what Urban Hymns was like. Very, very different. They were actually they were semi-entertaining. I couldn't tell you what they'd sung. I've no idea. Because it was this they just weren't someone I followed, and it wasn't enough for me to sit up and go, oh yeah, I've got to go and buy their stuff like I have with some bands. But no, Smashing Pumpkins were great. Billy Corgan was a bit pretentious, but then he's always been like that.
Yeah,
because he was trying to sort of interact with the fans, and he goes, "Do you love your parents?" And then people were like, "Nah." And he goes, "Fuck your parents," trying to get them, them on his on their side sort of thing. It's like, yeah, you don't need to do that, mate. And I mean, this is the original lineup. I can never remember all the people, or their proper names. I can't remember the bloody drummer's name. It's stupid. He left for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you mean. Yeah, he got fired. He got fired, didn't he?
Because he was doing drugs. But no, it's Darcy.
Jimmy something, maybe.
Jimmy something. Yeah.
Can't. Yeah.
I can't remember. Escape me now. I should have looked it up. No, Darcy on bass, and one of the most underrated guitarists ever, James Iha, who I think is brilliant.
Wasn't Jimmy Chamberlain, was it?
Jimmy Chamberlain, yeah, you got it. That's the one.
I pulled that from my arse, didn't I? I don't know why I suddenly remembered that.
No. As soon as you said it, it was like, yeah.
Important I need to remember. I'll be like sat here all night. But...
and it bugs you though, doesn't it? When it's something you know it.
Yeah.
Running through the names in your list, in your head. But yeah, no, that Jimmy Chamberlain, yeah, definitely. I mean, they're not the band they were. And the funny thing is that James left, Darcy left, and then Jimmy came back.
Yeah.
It's just him and Jimmy now, and a couple of other people now.
Yeah, because weren't there someone out of Hull who joined them for a bit?
I believe so. Yeah, it might have been
it's female
guitarist, I think.
Bassist or.
Oh, it might have been. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was the bassist. You're quite right. Yes, it was.
I'm not even a fan particularly. I don't mind Smashing Pumpkins, but I've never really investigated.
Oh, but no, but this gig just blew me away because again, it was the intimate setting, right? And I had been in mosh pits before because because I saw Living Colour, and they had quite a big mosh pit. Extreme wasn't so much of a mosh pit; it was more sedate, shall we say? But no, everyone was going mental, right? It was just chaos, but a hell of a lot of fun. And my mate at the time, Dan, he goes, "Do you know what? I'm going in the mosh pit." I was like, "Yeah, all right, mate. You go off and do it. Have fun, right?" So instead of like trying to get his way down the front like anybody else would, he said to some people, "Hey, hoik me up." So there he is, crowd surfing to the front, right? And I must have blinked or something, because the next thing I saw is I saw these pair of legs in the air, and I thought those are dance boots. And he was upside down in the mosh pit. Could have been highly dangerous, but he loved it. And it was, that was just like the whole thing. It was just like, yeah, it was chaos, but it was bloody fun.
Yeah.
We'd had a few drinks and that, not a lot, but we'd had a few drinks.
It's like one of those, like the atmosphere was, was
yeah.
It's.
I mean, if
like
you had
a good gig, it's like a good wrestling show, or like a good football match, or some
indeed, yeah.
When, when the crowd are really involved, they can like sort of push it up a level, can't they?
I mean, to be fair, I actually found some footage of it, and I realised how shit the acoustics in Southampton Guildhall are, and they're bloody awful. They really are. But when you're in the thick of it, you don't.
Yeah.
You can hear the song, you hear it playing. I mean, I always protected my ears anyway, right? Maybe not well enough because.
Well, it's funny. Like some of the most iconic gigs of all time, like when people who were there, like look back on it years later, they say, "Well, the sound was absolutely terrible. Like it almost ruined it." Like the two examples I can think of was like the famous Beatles at Shea Stadium gig, where all they had as far as sound was for the audience was some of these crappy little stadium speakers that normally be used for some guy doing announcements during a baseball game, but they didn't seem to bother the fans anyway because they were all screaming, and it was obviously, I mean, and the Beatles themselves played pretty poorly that day because they couldn't hear themselves because of all the screaming. And the other one is a gig that I would have been too young to go to it, but it's one of those sort of cultural events that I think, I wish I'd have been old enough to be able to go to, and that was Stone Roses at Spike Island that would have been 1990, I think it was.
Yeah. I'm not
Spike
sure.
Island, it's like that funny place between Liverpool and Manchester. Oh, we've got Rachel's Ghost showing up in this. This is VC royalty. Rachel's Ghost in the chat. Hi, Rachel. Thank you very much for joining us. We're talking about our favourite gigs, our favourite concerts at the moment. So if you've got anything to contribute relating to that,
yes,
then
please
do so. But thank you very much for coming in. Lovely to see you. And apparently at Spike Island, the sound was terrible, and it was just like it like people describe it as like everyone, all the bands playing Stone Roses, it was kind of like the audio just kind of floated off into the river, but it was one of those, like, it was more about the event than about the performance, really.
Yeah. I think
I'm sure you have seen a few over the years, Rachel. Rachel's in Canada, by the way, Jason. So
fair play.
Yeah. So sorry, I kind of talked over the rest of your anecdotes there, Jason.
No, I don't even know what I was going to say now. So.
Smashing Pumpkins at
Hall,
did you say, in Southampton? 93. I suppose that would have been pretty early Pumpkins, really. I started.
Second album.
I started getting more familiar with them probably about 96, 97, I think, really.
That would have been possibly Melancholy, yeah. I think
I've
yes,
only ever owned one Smashing Pumpkins recording. I bought the CD single for "Stand Inside Your Love" in 2000, I think it was.
All right, yeah.
Because it was a bargain bin thing. It was like 50p.
Fair enough.
I'd seen it on an MTV channel or some sort of music video channel, and I liked the single. And then when I saw it in a bargain bin, I'm like, yeah, 50p, I'll have it. But I've never listened to a full Smashing Pumpkins album, sadly.
Yeah, I'm not as keen on Melancholy. It's all right, some good songs on there, but yeah, I do prefer
Tonight's on Melancholy, because I really like Tonight actually.
Yeah. What was that rat? I can never remember what it's called. Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Yeah, I was never very keen on that one.
That might have been the one "Stand Inside Your Love" was on, possibly.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm no expert. I'm amazed I managed to remember the name of the Pumpkins.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've done very well for someone who's not into them. I mean, I've not really brought any. That's the only album of theirs I own. But it was such a good album that it was like, well, they're playing Southampton. It's local. You're not the sort of band you'd expect to play there, right? I know they weren't massive, but they were pretty big. So it's like, yeah, no brainer. It's a gig. Go with my mate. It wasn't overly expensive. Why not?
Yeah. So sounded like a good night, full of atmosphere.
Definitely.
Yeah. Excellent.
Good fun.
Right. So my third one. Now this is where I've got to cheat. You could call it a cheat.
Naughty boy.
This is one that I wasn't at for probably pretty obvious reasons when I tell you about it. But I've got it on DVD. I've also got the album, and I'll show you both of those in a minute. I've got some props. Yes, I managed to get
right, okay, yeah. I didn't bother this time.
This now the DVD and the album, the CD, were recorded, and this is probably also a bit of a cheat, but it's out of my control really. But they were recorded across 22nd and 23rd of August, 1998. So which tracks were from which day? Couldn't honestly say. There's probably some really nerdy website out there that could drill down into it. But the gig was at you'll see why I wasn't there, the Parkbühne Wohlheide in Berlin, Germany. And I bet you can guess what the band is now, can't you?
Yeah.
It is a Rammstein gig. This was their gig that was released, I think, the following year, 1999, on album and on video /DVD as Live Aus Berlin. I've got a few Rammstein live DVDs. They've released a decent amount over the years. They've released ones from Nîmes in France, Paris in France, Madison Square Garden in the US, of course, and I think there might be another one I'm forgetting as well. And I've got a bootleg one that was recorded in London from someone on his camcorder as well, which is I've only ever watched it once. It was a bit weird. But this was Rammstein. They were promoting their second album, Sehnsucht. And it was just amazing to see how big they'd got. I mean, the Parkbühne Wohlheide, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that.
No doubt.
It looks quite a big venue on the DVD. But I mean, I think compared to what they played, I mean, Madison Square Garden can fit a lot. They are a stadium act now, so they can fill out tens of thousands whenever they do a tour.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There probably is some attendance figures for the Wohlheide concerts, but even though this is quite early for them, it's only during their second album, Sehnsucht, so they had a lot more good stuff, in my opinion, that was still to come in subsequent years.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not the production of this, the DVD especially. The CD's great. I think the CD's probably got a couple more tracks on. This one's probably edited down a bit. But Both are brilliant, but I do prefer to watch the DVD than listen to the CD.
Yeah.
Even though this one I think's got a couple extra tracks on it. I will try and read out the set list as well, but you'll have to use my German pronunciation.
That's right.
But,
Go for it.
It's my favourite Rammstein live DVD, even though it's the first one, and it in relation to production quality and everything. It probably looks a little bit dated now, the actual DVD itself is like, I mean, if you think about when DVDs first got big, I mean, no one was really buying them in like 1999, and I think this is an original pressing. It's quite an early concert to come out on the format. It did come out on video as well, but I got into Rammstein years later, and obviously DVDs were the in thing. Anyway, I'll just read out the set list. Like I say, there's edits, and some of these are recorded one day, some are from the other day, so it's difficult to tell. But it's Spiel mit mir, Herzeleid, Bestrafe mich, Weisses Fleisch, and I'm doing this without my glasses for some reason, which is probably a bit silly. Sehnsucht, the title track for the second album. Asher zu Asher, Wilder Vine, which was a B-side of theirs, and it's I love that. It's a great track. It's almost like a ballad, really. Clavier, High Writer Mick, their debut single from back in, that would have been 94, 95, Du Riechst so gut. That remains one of my favourites. Du hast, which I think is the one everyone kind of knows.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I can't remember what it sounds like, but yeah, I know it.
Well, you'll know it when you hear it.
Yeah.
Engel, which was both that and Du hast were singles off the Sehnsucht album. Rammstein, which was that's the name of the track.
Yeah.
Tier, Like Zeit, then a long titled one here, track 16. Wollt der, I can't even read it. Wollt ihr das Bett in Flammen sehen? I'm sorry about that. And they finished it off with your favourite thing, Jason, Seaman. Or Seaman, which German meant sailor, but obviously with it being Rammstein, they did play up to the English language double entendre at times as well. It's probably cheating to pick this as a gig, but you know, it's an immersive thing to watch it. There is newer and some would argue better Rammstein concerts on DVD and Blu-ray that you can watch, and one or two on streaming now as well, I think. But for me, the first one, when they were on the cusp of getting massive, and I think they were already massive in Germany, but they were going to explode all over the world, like, you know, a year or two later. And I love the cover of this as well. There's something a bit sort of Cold War propaganda about it. That black and white photo of them standing around listening to a radio. Something that I've always loved the cover of that, and obviously it's the same design cover for the CD. But never come out on vinyl officially. If it ever comes out on vinyl, I'm ordering it because I do double up on Rammstein.
If I see it, I'll let you know.
Thank you for that, Rachel. Hit the thumbs up; it helps get this live stream noticed. That would be great if we would be noticed by a wider audience, Rachel. But me and Jason just tend to just sit here and just reminisce and talk crap with each other anyway. So.
And if you like similar, go over to my channel.
Go into your whore.
Gotta plug it somehow, mate.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak too much longer.
No.
I'm not going to speak any longer on this. I wasn't there. I probably didn't even know Rammstein was when this came out in I might have known who they were, but I didn't really pay them any attention.
No.
But great live album, even better DVD, Livehouse Berlin from the park. I'm not even going to say it again. From Berlin in Germany, Rammstein is my third choice. So there we go. You've earned a sub there from
hey, thank you very much.
So thank you for that, Rachel. Jason will be delighted about that.
Good job.
And Jason's going to give us his fourth and final pick
I am indeed.
for
Yeah.
his favourite concerts.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Bradford.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And this is a band from Bradford that
Yeah.
I saw in Bradford at Pennington's nightclub, no less. I don't know how well you know Bradford.
I don't know Bradford itself, so
Yeah.
that venue doesn't mean anything to me personally.
It was a bit of a strange venue, to say the least. Quite posh toilets, especially seeing as they had a fountain in one of them, in the gents. Don't know about the women's. They had a fountain in the gents' toilets with fish in it.
Right, okay.
I'm sure somebody used it as a lavatory. So I pity the poor goldfish.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a mental gig. It was what it was. It was what was this was what was the date? Yeah, 4th of October 2001. So just before my 31st birthday. If I've done that correctly, something like that.
Story.
Anyway, right. So yeah, it was supposed to be their last ever gig. So it was a little bit emotional because they were saying goodbye to everybody. I have got a DVD of this. They basically called it the Take the Money and Run because I think they got dropped by EMI and all the rest of it, which was one of the reasons why they decided they were going to, split. Anyway, that's by the by. So I cannot for the life of me remember who supported them, if anybody. They may not have had one because they did a hell of a set list. I think something like 27 songs. And basically, everything all the singles they'd done and a few B-sides and what have you. So anyway, I'll reel them off. So we had My House, which was the first single of theirs I ever bought. Celebrity Hit List. One of my favourite songs, and I will admit, I got a bit choked up thinking, shit, we're never going to see him again, which is unusual for me. I don't normally get emotional about things like that. Don't know why I did, but I did. Then we got Friends and Family, Always a Pleaser, with the chorus, Party Over Here, Fuck You Over There, which is brilliant. Everyone sings along to that one. Josephine, Babyface, New Policy One, Go Jerry, What Makes You Tick, Dog Chewed the Handle, Some People Say, Do You Want to Go Faster? You know what I think of that song. I told you before. It Didn't Bleed Red, which is probably one of my favourite television songs ever. Fantastic tune. T-Dance, Fists of Fury, Discotheque Wreck, which is another good song. American TV, From Out of Nothing, Pretend Best Friend, Sometimes I Like to Kill Her. So you can see what I mean. There's a long list.
Yeah.
If I Was You, Middleman, Bad Actress, and then This Drinking Will Kill Me, which is almost like a sea shanty style thing. That's another one of their B-sides. And then they did their encore with Alice, What's the Matter, which always goes over amazingly well. One of your favourites, one of theirs you like, Perseverance.
Yeah.
And then the big one that sort of made them, if you will, is Oblivion. And that was, fantastic. They were there for ages. We were all thoroughly shagged out. There was, because I used to be when it was going, I used to be a member of the television website forum, and there must have been about 30 of us that all sort of knew each other through that. Most of us never met before, but we all met up. That was really good. A few of them I still keep in contact with, even to this day. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, we got to meet. We all had our photos taken with Lee Barclay. He was the I can't remember if he was a guitarist. Stupid. I think he was a guitarist of the band. Right. I always get him and Mark Yates muddled up. Anyway, might have been the bass player. I can't remember. One or the other. Anyway, yeah, we all met up with him. Got a photo taken with the whole lot of us. some of us looked a bit awkward. Not me. I was loving it. Yeah, and then I got him to sign my ticket as well, which was quite cool. I got that somewhere. But one of the part of the thing they had was the band always used to come out, or Tony did anyway, with one of those big water soda thingies, the guns, super soaker.
Oh yeah, the ones, the big water pistols.
Pump action thingies, yeah.
Yeah,
To cool us down, he would spray the audience.
That's a good
But
idea.
he came out on stage, and none of the people just went.
Funnily enough, Rammstein did something similar, but
Yeah.
they used a giant dildo, and it was like squirted what
Yeah.
was like a white foam, but it was obviously meant to resemble something
else. Yeah.
rather penile.
Yes. No, but it was like, you sort of like they all pulled. I mean, it only did it a little bit because obviously the equipment. But it's like, oh shit, everyone's got water pistols. Yeah, and then the thing that sort of topped it off, because we were going nuts, right? The whole crowd was just, atmosphere was intense, right? All good natured, all very good natured. So a lot of us knew each other, all very good natured. And there's me. I think it was quite near the front actually. There's me and my mate Neil, and Neil at the time is slimmed down a bit now, but he's 30 odd bloody stone, jumping around like a loony, right? And between the lot of us, they had a sprung floor. We managed to break it. It wasn't, being because it was a nightclub more than what you would call a proper venue. Full gigs. Well, it's more of a nightclub. I don't think they realised quite what they were letting themselves in for.
Mm.
And farewell gig. So people are going to get into it and the emotion. And
I suppose it was more like a party than anything, really.
Well, yeah, it was very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a few drinks and all the rest of it, and then a lot of us were staying at the same hotel. We were in each other's rooms, chatting to everybody. Right, this was like 2:00 in the morning. The hotel staff telling us to shut up because we were annoying other people.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be best pleased if I was in Bradford that night, Jason.
And the other thing was the following morning, right? Everyone was just about getting up, and there was I don't know whether it was a drill or someone had to set it off. One of the fire alarms went off.
Oh, it's nothing worse, is there, when you're in an hotel and someone set the smoke alarms off at 4 a.m. or something stupid.
Yeah. Well, this was about 8:00, something like that, right? My mate Russ came out and he was pretty much half naked because he had to scramble out the shower and pull some trousers on. So yeah, no, it's just the whole thing because they obviously were there on the day, and then the following, I stayed the night, following day, all the rest of it. Went down to Morrison's when they used to be decent, and we had a massive breakfast. That was really good. It was just like a really fun few days, but the gig obviously was the high point. Just mental. We didn't think they were going to get back together again, but they're still touring now. I think they did their last album in 2018, and they released a couple of Christmas songs since then, and they're touring in November, I believe. They said I can't go because I'm in Canada, funnily enough, and that's their 30th anniversary tour, which I really wish I could go to because they were doing it so you could vote for what songs you wanted them to perform.
Mm.
So, yeah. So, unfortunately, I can't go, but hopefully that'll get a DVD release or something, because I'd definitely get that.
Mm. Yeah.
But, yeah, no, just a lot of good times.
Like a live album release would be better than nothing, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah.
I mean, I've got a lot of New Order bootlegs, which, that leads me on to something in a bit, but...
yeah.
There is I suppose it depends on your feelings about bootlegs, but there is a guy who supplied me with a lot of mine. Who are
I've had a
still.
few.
I've not bought any off him for a while
Yeah.
because really I used to collect a load of these before I got back into vinyl.
Oh
But
yeah, I mean,
if there was ever any particular gigs that you might have been at that you would like to own, then it might be worth me putting you in touch with him because he might.
yeah, definitely,
And
for
he
sure.
always does like proper album artwork. You know, like
Yeah,
kind of, you know, some of it can be a bit basic, but some of it looks all right. And
yeah,
you know, he doesn't just send you a CDR and it's like handwritten and stuff. You know, he does it properly. He does
yeah.
proper.
No, that'd be fair play, mate. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'll remind me at some point to
Yeah,
pass on this information.
Because I used to go down to well, there are two down where the Saints football stadium is now, around that area, St Mary's, and they had. Oh, hello. All right.
Pete, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, they're weasels of various records which were sort of like interconnected, and you always used to go down there and get bootleg tapes, very nicely handwritten, you know, a cassette.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll be able to show an example of this friend of mine. Well, it's more of a contact, really, but I'm Facebook friends with him as well.
Fair play.
I'll show an example shortly. So
yeah. Well, on that note, take it away, mate.
Yeah, thank you for that. That sounded, you know, even for someone who's never had more than a sort of casual or occasional interest in a band like TerrorVision, but it does sound like a really fun night. That
fantastic.
You know, one of those kind of, I suppose, one of those sort of once in a lifetime sort of nights. Just for the atmosphere and you know the significance of what it was and everything. So great stuff. Right, so my fourth one, it is one that I went to. I've got plenty more, well, not plenty more, but some more specific information about it. It took place on the 24th of November, 2015.
Quite
I
recently.
went with my friend who came up from North Wales, and it was at the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton. Now, I've never been to Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
It was like a short tour to promote the new album, Music Complete, and you know I'm going to who the band is.
You had to.
I think they were playing Manchester and a couple of other places like London and Glasgow and stuff like that, and then like the Midlands one was Wolverhampton. I think we wanted to go to Manchester, that had sold out, but Wolverhampton hadn't sold out. And it turned out to be quite easy to get to. There was actually a train direct to Wolverhampton from North Wales, where my friend lived. And it was easy for me to get to. I just had to change at Birmingham. And then Wolverhampton's like 10 minutes on another train from Birmingham New Street. Well, of course, I'm talking about New Order. I finally got to see them for the first and so far only time on the 24th of November, 2015 at Wolverhampton Civic Hall. And I've got the bootleg. I've got the bootleg CD for it. This is the sort of thing that my friend on Facebook does.
Oh, that's quite good.
Yeah, nice stuff. And if you open it up, this is actually a 2 CD set as well, because the entire gig's on here. In fact, I think even like the like sort of long pause between the end of the normal gig and the encore is classed as a track. So
that's kind of cool.
There's your seat. So even the CDs themselves get proper label printed and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he does put the effort in. And like I said, I'm not bought from him for a while, so his prices have probably gone up a little bit, but he's very reliable. Like as soon as you tell him what you want, he'll, you know, you're guaranteed to get it. You know, just you're paying by PayPal, and then a few days later you'll get it all.
What did he charge?
Well, I've not bought anything from him from a long time. I mean, I've got so many New Order bootleg CDs, a lot from him, and then a lot from sort of, I've managed to find them on eBay, even though you're not really allowed to sell them on there, and Discogs and things like that. So, I know he's one where like if the more you order, he will sort of reduce the price if you're ordering in bulk, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But but I can give you the full the full the full set here.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it came out to an intro, which is some classical track. It doesn't say what it is here, but it's one that features on a few New Order live albums. Then it goes to Singularity. That was a track off the new album, Music Complete. Ceremony, which was, of course, the first official New Order single. Crystal, Restless, which was the first single off Music Complete. Lonesome Tonight, one of my very favourite New Order tracks. It was a B-side for Thieves Like Us. Your Silent Face, Tutti Frutti, again a single from Music Complete. People on the High Line, another one from Music Complete. Number 10, Bizarre Love Triangle, love it, always love that. And the live mix that they do is really good as well. Number 11, Waiting for the Siren's Call, great track. 12, Plastic from Music Complete. 13, The Perfect Kiss. 14, True Faith. I love their live mix of True Faith. 15, Temptation. Then came the encore break that lasted for 2 minutes. That's listed as a track in here. So it is literally the full gig with no cuts whatsoever here. Yeah, Atmosphere, Joy Division track. This was the encore, these next three. Love Will Tear Us Apart, another Joy Division cover, if you can call it a cover.
Yeah.
And finishing off with a 7-minute version of Blue Monday. So,
sounds good.
New Order, I mean, my favourite band of all time for many, many years. It had been a bucket list thing, really. And it's funny how you mentioned earlier about how you got emotional during the Terrorvision gig. I remember at points, I kind of found myself a little bit overwhelmed with emotion because I'm like, I've waited so many years to be able to see New Order, and for whatever reason or another, they did a lot of touring in the 2000s, but I was married. I was bringing up, a young child, and then my second daughter was born in 2010. It was just my wife at the time wasn't interested in New Order particularly. She was interested in other music, she was an Oasis fan and things like that. But we didn't go to gigs. It's just I kind of became a bit of a recluse for a lot of years as well. So to finally be able to go with a friend, and he liked New Order, but he wasn't as massive on them as I am. But he came out of the gig afterwards and he said, he's Welsh. Oh, that's Stephen Morris, the drummer in New Order. He's one of the best drummers I've ever seen live, isn't it? I'm like, I didn't go with Beardo, honestly.
I'm sure you'd appreciate the sentiment.
But it's like, Stephen Morris is probably for my money the greatest drummer ever. But that I'm a little bit biased. But even my friend, who his favourite bands are ones like The Wedding Present and people like that. So
I remember them.
Wolverhampton. The venue was I would say it was smaller than the City Hall in Sheffield. I think from my memory. Say how big New Order are, it seemed quite a small venue for them to return to, because they are someone who I think they can pretty much sell out arenas still. If you put the mind to it. But this was, a little bit of a mini tour before, I suppose, like maybe a full tour, like the following year, 2016.
I mean, a lot of bands do that, so
Yeah, but it was, I just kept saying to him, and when we're talking to friends about it afterwards, it's just like, oh, I can't believe I saw New Order live. I was there when they performed, and then it was probably a couple of years later, so it wasn't that soon, but it was like a couple of years. And the contact of mine on Facebook, he put a post up saying, I've got new CDs from all these different artists, and then New Order was one. So I always check his New Order listings, and then suddenly Wolverhampton Civic Hall 24th of November. I'm like, shit, I've got to get that right now.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a must because I was at it.
Well,
But
yeah.
I was collecting the live bootlegs from New Order anyway, but that one, I mean, it was an absolute no-brainer, really.
I tried to think how much money I could spend on doing that.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if I wasn't collecting all these vinyl records, I probably would still be collecting them. But after a while, the amount I got, they all get a bit samey, really.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
The quality and some of them's better than others. To be fair, my friend Craig, who does these ones that I showed you, all the ones I've got from him, the quality sounds great. It's like some of the other ones I've got from like eBay and stuff, where like places. But that, for me, that's kind of the charm of bootlegs in a way. Really. You don't know quite what you're getting until you get it, really. So I kind of like that about
the appeal. Yeah.
Yeah. My abiding memories of that night were thinking how easy it was to navigate around Wolverhampton. Say it's a city, it seemed like a tiny city, really. Like you can do like a lap of it, and then his hotel was there, the Molyneux football ground was there, and then you turn a corner, the Civic Hall's there. Then there's all the shops, and then you kind of back where you started, and it's like, man, this is a city, is it? It's like it's really small and easy to get there.
It's a bit like us with the it's a bit like us with the Yorkshire Comic Con, wasn't it? Because that was relatively small.
Yeah. It was a little bit daunting. Having never been to Wolverhampton, and no, it was the first time I'd met my friend. He was someone I'd known on Twitter for years, and I just said to him one day, I said, look, when New Order announced their upcoming tour, shall we? Yeah. Do you want me to get you a ticket, and I'll treat you, and then we'll sort out the hotel and stuff. And it was like, and then, like I say, we couldn't get in at Manchester, but Wolverhampton worked out perfectly, really. It would have been I suppose it would have been ideal to see New Order in their home city of Manchester. That would have been cool.
But you can't have everything.
Leroy calling us a couple of bin dippers here. Yeah.
Hey, mate, if it works, why not? Sorry.
It's just all I can say is, and it's I don't really like the term bucket list, but it was a bucket list thing. It was a proper lifetime ambition achieved. We've got Wayne Deacon in the house asking us, kids, bloody hell! You look who you're talking to. Jason hasn't been a kid since the Zeppelin raids. Come on.
You forget Wayne. He was Julius Caesar's handmaiden. So
yeah. It was someone's handmaiden at Borstal, I heard.
Hand something.
Some might say, well, you didn't see the classic New Order lineup, which was Bernard, Hooky, Gillian, Stephen, but I'd seen Hooky in Monaco. I would see Hooky again a couple of times in Cardiff years afterwards. This was the current lineup that we've got still now. Bernard, Gillian, Stephen, and then Phil and Tom. But didn't matter to me. It was New Order. It was a great set. They played plenty of my favourites. They played, their last album, their most recent album, is okay. It's good in places, but it's a little bit inconsistent, really, for me. But they were bound to play some tracks off it. They didn't focus too heavily on it, which was good. They played some Joy Division stuff, which always goes down a treat. Whenever they do a Joy Division tribute, and they had like video screens, and they're flashing up photos of Ian Curtis and stuff. So that was a nice sort of. It was to pardon the pun, it was quite an atmospheric encore, really, when they did Atmosphere and Love Will Tear Us Apart, and you've got these images of Ian Curtis and stuff. On the video screens, it was a really cool show for video visuals and stuff, and the lighting was good, the sound was good because it wasn't a particularly big venue. I I was fairly near the front, but not at the very front. But it was good. You know, it was. I made sure my friend sort of stayed a little bit back. He didn't want to try and get a bit far ahead, but I did, and I was just kind of on my own a lot of the time. But then I met up with him afterwards, and we just chatted about how great it all was.
Yeah.
And I just kind of lost myself in the music, and it was one of the best nights of my life.
Yeah.
And I've not been able to say that since the last time I was with your sister, Jason. And on that note, on that bombshell,
Bunchy Bones.
That's probably a good time to end it. So that was our 4 of my favourite gigs. 3 of one I didn't attend, but I love watching it, and I'll probably watch it again very soon.
Yeah.
And 4 that Jason attended that sounded all for similar and different reasons alike. Exciting ones to be at.
Yeah. Any brief honorary mentions?
Don't
have to go into full details. Just bands you've seen.
There's a guy. He's worked with the Divine Comedy, but I don't know if people have really heard over here, called Duke Special. I actually went to a gig in a restaurant that he did.
All right, that's cool.
In Ireland with my girlfriend at the time. It was like you booked a 3-course meal, and then you had Duke Special doing a intimate little gig while you were eating.
It was cool.
That was. I've not been a fan of his. It was interesting because like he's like a bit of an eccentric kind of guy, and he sort of made his own instruments and things like that. And my girlfriend was a fan, and I bought her a couple more of his CDs for Christmas that year. Thank you for that, Rach. Good show, and R.I.P. Ian Curtis. Yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace, Ian Curtis. What would have happened to Joy Division had he lived is something I think New Order and Factory fans will speculate on for many years to come, really. But yeah, that was my honourable mention. A really unusual, but somehow it worked really well, and I had a lovely steak for my main course. That was the best bit. Never mind the gig. Never mind Duke Special. It was the steak that I enjoyed. It was the restaurant was literally down the street from my flat as well. I live like a few doors up. It was so great to be able to come out of my flat, walk a few steps, and then there's the restaurant, and then they've got we're having a gig.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah. I mean, I've seen I won't go into all of them. I've been to see quite a few bands. Lenny Kravitz was a weird one. Seeing him play Southampton Guildhall, because you know how big he was at one point. That was weird. It took bloody ages to come on. He started getting booed at one point, but once he came on, very, very good. And the other little one is a little band. They don't exist anymore. They only played a handful of gigs, called The Rest Is Noise. And that was my nephew's band when he was about 15, 16. And they played, I think it was the Wedgwood Rooms. If you know that one.
I've heard of the venue. Yeah. I know of it.
Portsmouth way. So that was, that was quite funny. He's off doing his filmmaking these days, but yeah, he was quite a good drummer. So that was fun to see.
Okay.
Can't remember any of the songs now, but
that's all right. So there we are. A couple of honourable mentions we end with as well. So that's going to do it for us. We've been at this for the best part of 2 hours. It was longer than I thought we'd managed to talk, but we've had some nice anecdotes and been able to reminisce here. So I've really enjoyed this discussion tonight.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Thank you as always to my co-host, Not Suitable for Mum, Jason Clow.
And thank you, Jimmy, for hosting.
Well, you're welcome. You're not going to be doing it. You can't be asked. So
it's this, mate. Can't get my head around it.
Yeah. Leroy's asking if you've seen Chaz and Dave. No, sadly not. And I say sadly with a tinge of irony, really.
My mates and you and Russ have seen them.
But Thank you for all those who've contributed in the chat. I appreciate it. Anyone who might be watching on replay, thank you as well. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. We've had a little bit of a discussion about what we might do, but we haven't made any firm decisions yet. But it'll be something music related. I hope you'll be able to join us, if not live, then on the replay for that as well. But Jason and I will bid you a very good evening. Enjoy the week. Enjoy what we've got coming up on our respective channels.
Yes,
Rachel Ghost has got a thumbs up for Chaz and Dave there. A friend of hers played guitar for them.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Cool. There we go.
Yeah.
Gotcha. With Chaz. Gotcha. And we'll say good night, and we'll see you back for number 11 in the old Sodcast in 2 weeks' time. And if we do have to cancel, if Jason decides he's going out, then I'll put a note up on the community tab just saying it's been delayed a week. But as far as we know, we will be back in a fortnight. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.